It's Wednesday, 4 September. Welcome to the PDB Afternoon Bulletin. I'm Mike Baker, your eyes and ears on the world stage. Let's get briefed. First, Ukrainian President Zelensky is overhauling his wartime government, announcing the resignation of 6 senior ministers in the largest shakeup of Kyiv's leadership ranks since the war began. Also, like the Swallows returning to Capistrano, with college back in session, anti-Israel protesters, outside activists, and useful idiots for Hamas are returning from their summer holidays and are once again wreaking havoc on U.S. university campuses, vandalizing buildings, blocking entrances, and, of course, spewing pro-Hamas rhetoric. But first, our afternoon spotlight. I want to begin with the war in Ukraine, where President Zelensky has ordered the biggest leadership reshuffle since the conflict began, as Russian forces attempt to break through Kyiv's front lines in the east. Zelensky announced Wednesday a reorganization of his wartime administration, accepting the resignations of 6 ministers, most notably Dmytro Kuleba, who has served as foreign minister since March of 2020. The resignations also include 2 deputy prime ministers, the justice minister, the environment minister, and the strategic industries minister, who oversaw Ukraine's domestic arms production, and that's all according to a report from Reuters. Zelensky praised his government team, but said the country needed fresh blood in their leadership ranks. Sources close to Zelensky said he feels a new team will work more actively and bring unique approaches to the table regarding Kyiv's wartime strategy, particularly at a time when Russia is gaining ground in eastern Ukraine. In an address on Wednesday, Zelensky said, quote, "Today we need new energy, and these steps are related to strengthening our state in various directions. Autumn will be extremely important for Ukraine, and our state institutions should be configured so that Ukraine achieves all the results that we need for all of us," end quote. Ukraine's parliament officially accepted 4 of the resignations on Wednesday and are expected to consider Kuleba's resignation on Thursday, though this is largely a formality. The loss of Kuleba is sure to be felt both domestically and abroad. He's best known as the face of Ukraine overseas, regularly meeting world leaders and leading lobbying efforts with allies in Europe and the U.S. for military and political support. Kuleba, who speaks fluent English, led a push in the spring to transfer Patriot air defense batteries to Ukraine that were going unused by allies, and he's been one of the loudest voices lobbying allies to provide long-range missiles and to loosen restrictions on how current munitions are used. It's not yet clear who will replace Kuleba as foreign minister, but Zelensky is expected to make an announcement as early as Wednesday. Zelensky reportedly planned the government overhaul for some months, but delayed the action because he was focused on talks that stretched through the summer with Western allies concerning new military and financial aid. The shakeup is not expected to impact Kyiv's overarching foreign policy agenda. We should note, the announcement comes at a crucial juncture in the war. According to a report from Forbes, in recent days, Russian troops have managed to bypass Ukraine's main frontline force protecting the city, exposing them to attacks from both their front and flanks. The maneuver could allow Russian forces to cut off supply lines and retreat routes to the Ukrainian frontline forces. Analysts say that if Ukrainian commanders do not execute a rapid retreat from the area and refortify their lines several miles to the west, well, they risk being fully encircled by the Russian military. Coming up after the break, anti-Israel protests have again erupted at America's college campuses as students return for the fall semester, with Columbia University serving once again as the flashpoint for the chaos. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the Afternoon Bulletin. As the fall semester gets underway at Columbia University and, of course, other institutions, anti-Israel protests have erupted on campuses, leading to another period of unrest. Protesters blocked entrances, vandalized landmarks, and shouted pro-Hamas rhetoric, leading to arrests. The protests follow months of chaos and demonstrations from last year. The protests, which picked up from the spring semester, saw demonstrators forming a picket line, banging drums, and chanting slogans such as, quote, "resist until victory," or, here's another one, "over 100,000 dead, Columbia, your hands are red," in reference to the university's investment ties to Israel, and, of course, the chant, quote, "don't cross the picket line, we must honor Palestine," end quote. Well, look at that. The trust fund kids, the Useful idiots and their outside activist organizers spent their summertime freshening up their anti-Semitic slogans and chants. In response to this unrest, Columbia University has taken additional security measures to prevent further disruption, such as limited entrances open to students and pre-registered guests only. Campus security has been bolstered with more officers stationed around the campus in a bid to limit disruption. Yet the protesters managed to cause significant delays, with over 150 students seen waiting in long lines to pass through Columbia's iconic iron gates. And by midday, well, the historic alma mater statue was vandalized with red paint. Of course it was. Neighboring Barnard College suffered similar unrest as anti-Israel protests saw 2 arrested. The protests at Columbia come in the wake of last semester's upheaval, which turned the university into a flashpoint for anti-Semitic tensions. The escalation of hostilities last spring culminated in the resignation of former President Manoush Shafik, and the tensions have continued into this semester, of course. Now, just prior to the semester's start, a faculty-led anti-Semitism task force at Columbia released a 91-page report describing, quote, serious and pervasive anti-Semitism on campus. The report, based on listening sessions with nearly 500 students, detailed how Jewish and Israeli students faced verbal abuse, were spat on, and were not adequately protected by the university. It also revealed that some faculty members downplayed concerns about the rising wave of anti-Semitism, further exasperating this issue. Because, of course, nobody can downplay anti-Semitism like a self-righteous, tenured progressive professor can downplay anti-Semitism. Columbia's interim president, Katrina Armstrong, has acknowledged the challenges the university faces. In an effort to restore order, Armstrong welcomed students back with a promise to balance free speech rights with campus safety, hoping to avoid the widespread unrest and arrests seen during previous university president Shafik's time. New York Governor Kathy Hochul warned that there were, quote, storm clouds ahead, urging college administrators to enforce disciplinary codes. Yeah, there's an idea. Meanwhile, Columbia and other institutions, such as the University of Michigan and the University of Southern California, have implemented 24/7 security task forces in preparation of continued and possibly intensified protests. As the National Students for Justice in Palestine, there's a group, calls for a nationwide day of action on 12 September. And that's classic. A pro-Hamas organization calling for protests on U.S. campuses the day after the anniversary of 9/11. Look, we may not be at peak stupid yet, but I suspect we're getting close. And that, my friends, is the PDB Afternoon Bulletin for Wednesday, 4 September. If you have any questions or comments, please reach out to me at pdb@thefirsttv.com. Now, to listen to the show ad-free, become a premium member of the President's Daily Brief by visiting pdbpremium.com. It really is that simple. I'm Mike Baker, and I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, stay informed, stay safe, stay cool.